I was a sad teenager, always sad, suicidal, things like this, and I I went through like an existential crisis. You know, I didn't. I used to suffer with anxiety and panic attacks like this, and so without getting into too much personal details, that was like the toughest thing I had to go through. Just learning how to be happy, because sadness is kind of addictive. You want to stay there because it's such a comfortable feeling, but um, so that was the most painful thing.
The hardest thing I've been through. My parents went through a divorce when we were very young, so I got separated from my brothers, and I haven't seen them for a really long while, like years now, and that was really hard for me because I lived my life siblingless, so it was really sad part of my life. I had to like start living without having them there, and not having my dad. Yeah, it was like a new lifestyle on another side of the world. So but yeah, I just learned to be happy because it was a very dark moment for me those days, but I learned to really be happy and content with every situation that happens after that.
This had to do with, being in a relationship, a marital, relationship and all that. And having to make a decision to come out of it. Um, because I've always believed in um, we coming together to build a home and to build a future as God has designed together. And having to decide to come out of that jurisdiction, I think it takes a lot, a lot, a lot. But the decision you take in life, at the end of the day, they become a blessing. They are always very difficult for you to take at that point in time, but at the end of the day, you realize you're taking the steps that God has ordered for you to take. So I think that has been, because also having to remind myself that okay, you're not having your child is not with you. Um, your child is staying somewhere, you're staying different place. Um, it's something that kills emotionally, but having to put yourself together spiritually, physically, mentally, like no, you know what, you're just making the right decision. Nothing's bad, and God will take care of the rest. So it's actually one of the biggest decisions for me to take.
Well, the hardest thing I've been through is when my family members passed on. I just felt so weak. I just started hating everything in my life because I, up to now, I'm missing those people like my mom, my dad, my sister, my brothers. So it's something which at times when I think of it, I become down.
Yeah, I mean, when I was unemployed after COVID, I got retrenched. Or not after COVID, during COVID, I got retrenched right at the beginning. It was March 2021, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, when COVID sort of hit South Africa, and I was one of the first casualties of that. So losing the income, you know, and even though now I have to rely on God theoretically and ideologically, but it was quite hard because there's certain powers that come with having something. You now have for instance, a buying power. You can buy pizza, you can buy certain, quality of clothing. For instance, you can come to a park, but you need money. You know what I mean? But when you lose that power, you now have to really go back to old age or stone age times where you only look at your survival. So even though I could live through all of that, through the grace of God and the hope that things will change, but it was quite hard to live through that time because these are constant reminders. If you can't, especially if you used to get something, but now you can't, you know what I mean? You've lost so much power, and it's not nice to know that you've lost power. And you can't be ignorant of that fact because it means everything to you. Especially if you now have got a wife and a kid, because you're not just thinking about yourself, you're thinking about what are they going to do, you know? But I got my relief from understanding that perhaps this is just a challenging time and it will pass. And because God is in the picture, you know, it all works together fine in the end. So even though I'm depressed and sad, but you know, I can't let myself suffer from that. So I have to sort of find a way of bouncing back to enjoying whatever little that I have, making the best out of it.
That would be to lose both of my parents. Lessons would be that you know, parents, what they would do when you're growing up, they would giving you life lessons in life in general. So when they are not there, you always reflect back to what they were, you know, drilling in your head, even though, you know, sometimes they would give you a hiding. It's not because they hate you or anything, but they love you. They want you to be a better person in life. So that's the hardest thing that ever happened to me.
I've gone through a lot. My son had been killed. In a few minutes, he was next to me, and he said to me, "Mommy, I love you." At the moment when he left out, my friends come in and said to me, "Your child is no more." So what I'm glad of is to be a strong woman and to believe that God is there and He is going to heal me. I'm happy to be a strong mother because I didn't want to forgive the child who did it to my child. But as the time goes, I start to forgive him and to heal. That's why I can say to you that to be a woman is to go through a lot. But at the end of the day, I have to be strong because you go through channels to channels. At the end of the day, if you can forgive and you will also heal. Thank you so much.
Like around COVID, I lost my uncle who was very close to me. Like he was like my father, so to speak, you know. So like I never really knew my father, even though I know him, but I didn't grow up with him. Like it's like he's just a guy that's there. Like I'm able to point to say, yeah, that's my father, but we don't have a relationship. But my uncle was that one person that I could always call upon, you know. It's like, even now when I look at my phone, I still have his number. It's like, you know, the fact that I can call that number and can hear his voice, it still kind of hurts. And also it's like a friend of mine also committed suicide around COVID times as well, you know, and there that was I think one of the hardest, because I knew what he was going through and he had reached out to me to say, I'm going through this. And you know, it's like those things, man, something as small as like network, because we were speaking and I didn't have good connection and he was like, okay, it's fine, let me call you again when we have a good connection so we can speak, you know. Because I think he had that much trust in me that he knew if he spoke with me, it would make some change in his life. But you know, that was the last time I spoke to him. And then after that, maybe a week or two, he committed suicide. And that, for me, that hit hard. Because it's like, I always felt like maybe if that conversation had gone through, maybe something else, like it would have changed something in his life. Yeah, so those two things, like the kind of things that hit me, you know, harder.
Not me, but watching someone. Like I have a baby sister who's a neuro baby, so I feel like that's the most difficult thing to actually watch a baby go through, because she experiences seizures and everything like that. So it's not really a nice thing to go through. Sometimes it puts your faith down, or there's no hope, or that she might feel better or anything. But yeah.
When I was admitted at hospital, since I had an electrical accident, it was very challenging because hospital is not a good place to stay or to live in. So it's very, very painful to see people like spending 2-3 days or 1 week or a month. It's not a good place at all.
Hardest. One of the hardest things, I did a solo hike for 3 days, but I wasn't prepared well. So yeah, I was freezing, I was cold. I brought food, of course, but not enough, so I had to like manage it somehow, so that was pretty difficult.
Well, it's kind of something I'm going through now, because I'm kind of going through like a divorce. So that's kind of like the hardest thing I'm going through. It's very complicated because it's something where we've gone through this process like so many times, where we go through divorce, then we don't, and we go through and don't. And yeah, so it's very difficult to go through that, because you also confuse yourself, like what is the right thing to do and what's the wrong thing to do. So yeah, no, that's been the most difficult thing.
That's gotta be friends, trusting people. It's gotta be, I trusted some people way too early in life, and like I also learned so many lessons. It's gotta be just by like in that realm of friends and whatnot, because there was some people that, you know, you could believe, you're like, nah, this is my friend for life and whatnot. You do this and that for them, and then when the moment comes for them to do what's best for them, they don't think twice. They just do whatever it is that they want to do and move on, as long as it benefits them. So that's gotta be the toughest thing by far in life right now for me. Yeah.